I'll start from the very top or from the very beginning because when I was kind of explaining all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll start from the very beginning. I was going to bed, but earlier that night I took a nap from like a few hours. So I went to bed and I woke up and it was 1 o'clock in the morning. So everyone was already asleep. It's 1 a.m. Everything's off, and so I'm just in my room in the dark, all quietly. And then I just decided to watch some like YouTube, listen to some music on my in my bed, and just stayed up for like 2 hours. And it was like 3 o'clock, and so I still couldn't sleep. So I got up from my bed and read a book for a little bit. It was the new book I got from Christmas from my dad. I read it for like 30 minutes. Then all of a sudden I got tired and I was like, dang it, finally. I'm tired. I could go back to sleep. I turned off the lights, went back to sleep, tucked myself in, and it was all quiet. And then I was facing the wall because my bed is right next to the wall, and I'm sleeping, and I'm facing the wall. My back is turned to the darkness of my room or whatever. So I'm over there sleeping peacefully, and then I have this dream. It's like I'm in a movie theater and or in the line of a movie theater, and we're waiting. And so all of a sudden, this man starts an argument with us, and he's arguing. And all of a sudden, he comes up to me and starts fighting me. I punch him in his face, and all of a sudden, we start tussling on the ground. And then I wake up, but I'm not awake, or I'm awake. I am awake, but I'm paralyzed in my bed. So I could see I'm looking at the wall, but I'm still awake. So I couldn't move, and I was like, "Snap! I'm having a sleep paralysis." But it's not bad. I'm facing the wall. I closed my eyes, and then all of a sudden I couldn't open my eyes, and but I could. But all of a sudden I started hearing screaming as if someone was screaming right in my face at me, and I couldn't see it because I didn't want to open my eyes, but in my head it was literally a weird grayish humanoid right in my face with its mouth wide open, screaming at me, and I was trying so hard to wake up or just move and get out of the way because it was so scary. It's like it was so vivid, the screaming. It was like screaming at the top of its lung in a high pitched scream. And so after like 10 seconds of it screaming in my face, I finally move. I get up from my bed and I'm like, that's a creepy, stupid paralysis. I was like, the other ones I had, they were creepy, but nothing like a monster screaming in my face. And I'm like, what in the world? And I don't know, it was like I could hear this screaming. It was so vivid, high pitched screaming. I was like, that's creepy. But I didn't think much of it. It's not new. I had sleep paralysis before. So I went back to bed. It's like 3:30 this time. And so I go back to sleep. I'm still facing the wall because I don't really care. I went back facing the wall. And I did it again, went to sleep. But right before I was about to fall asleep, a high pitched screaming, or not screaming, just a high pitched ringing went in my ear, like right before I went to bed, or right before I fell asleep. So it kind of woke me up. And right when I was falling asleep, I heard this. It sounded like, and it was like, all of a sudden I woke up and I was like, what is that stupid ringing? And then I woke up, or not woke up, but I sat up and I was like, it's gone. And I'm like, darn it, stupid ringing. It was all quiet again. So I decided to lay back down, but this time instead of facing the wall, I faced the darkness of my room because I was like, maybe it's just my body being scared that I'm facing away from the darkness. So I faced the darkness and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back to sleep. And I did it again right before I fell asleep. The high pitched ringing came back, and just as I went about to fall asleep, I could feel me falling asleep. The stupid ringing came back, and it was like it went from low to high, and then I woke up and I was like, darn it, what is that stupid high pitched ringing? And then I checked the time. It was like 3:30, almost 3:40, and I'm like, okay, this is not working. But I went back to sleep anyway, cause like I'm tired. I want to go back to sleep. And then, but this time, I kind of stuck out. I kind of fell asleep through the ringing in my ear, and I actually fell asleep this time. And I remember my dream, or this dream that I fell asleep into. I all of a sudden was in a abandoned building. It's like, and I was like trying to get out of this abandoned building. It's like it was all quiet. It was like an apocalypse or something. And then there's these windows on the like on the walls, but they're kind of high up. So I grabbed a wooden plank off the floor that was just laying there, and I started bashing out the window. And I kind of barely tiptoed, and I couldn't reach it. I was like, darn it, I can't reach the window. So I went around looking around the building again. It was like a construction building that hasn't been finished yet. So it's just like concrete, but there's no furniture or anything. It's just a concrete building, and it's daytime. Like it's maybe like morning at like 12 noonish. I could tell from the sunlight. So I walk around the building, and all of a sudden I come across this hole in the wall, but it's kind of barricaded. So I start bashing out again, start pulling off the wooden off the window. This time it was like right in front of me, so I could see through it. And I look through a little crack through the hole, and I see that the surrounding area is just a big wasteland. It was like in the middle of the desert, but there was other tall buildings, but it was like a desolated land of just apocalypse. And I was like, where am I? I was like, this is crazy. So I kept bashing out the window. All of a sudden, I heard like a footstep behind down the hall, and I stopped what I was doing. I looked around the corner, and at the stairways at the end of the hall, I saw a shadow of through the from the sunlight. I was looking close, and I was like, "What is that? Who is that?" Because I was like, "I don't know who in the world is that." All of a sudden, I saw the shadow of like a man coming down the stairs with like a hammer. I was like, "Snap!" And then I got ready behind the corner to where he couldn't see me, but I knew he knew I was there because he was slowly walking up to my direction down the hall or up the hall. And so I was waiting for him, but I kept making noises to seem like I didn't know he was there. So I was like kind of rustling my feet around, but I knew he was there, so I was ready with my wooden plank. And as the guy was walking over, I quickly turned around the corner, bashed him on the head, and he fell down. And I guess I knocked him out or something. And all of a sudden, I looked to the stairway next to me, the staircase next to me, and then this little girl who I supposedly just all of a sudden remembered in that dream that I was exploring the building, or not exploring, but exploring for any supplies through the building. And she was like, "Oh snap! Look, you killed someone." I was like, "I don't know. This guy just followed me." So she's like, "Anyways, we have to get out of here now." It was like a bunch of more other people coming. I was like, "All right." And so we made our way down the staircase, and we were walking down the staircase. And she was like, "Snap! The door is locked." I was like, "Well, try to get it open." And so the little girl was trying to get the door open. She was over, and I was watching the staircase while she tried to open the door. And all of a sudden, I heard like walking upstairs, but it wasn't walking. It was like an insect or a spider like crawling around up there. And I was like, snap! What in the world is that? And then the girl all of a sudden turned to me. She was like, "Shh, be quiet." And I was like, snap! What is that? And then it started crawling down the stairs, and we're kind of trapped because it was the door wouldn't open. So I was over there being scared for my life. And then all of a sudden, the spider it was a giant spider, but not giant. It was like half of a human size. It was like half the size of an average human. So it was pretty big, but not too big. But I was like, oh my gosh, I got scared. I tried climbing up all over the place to get away from it, and it started jumping at us. And then I was like, oh, this is crazy. And then all of a sudden, it came to jump at me, but right before it could have kill me. I guess I didn't wake up. I woke up, but I didn't wake up. So I woke up, but I'm still in a dream. But the little girl's still with me. And at this point, I'm already beginning to lose track of, is this real or is this not real? So I wake up, and then the little girl still with me. She's like, but this time we're like in a forest or something. And so it was like kind of grayish clouds, and we're in the middle of a thick forest. And she's like, your dreams. I'm like, what about my dreams? She's like, your dreams are affecting where we are. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? She's like, whatever you dream of, we keep going to another universe. And she's like, that universe brought us to some kind of stupid apocalypse world. I'm like, I'm sorry, but it's not my fault. He's like, just try to dream of home so you get home. I'm like, okay. So I'm trying to think happy thoughts to go home. And she's like, I'm gonna just go look for some supplies in case we ever stay here longer. So she goes into the forest and looks for like whatever supplies. All of a sudden, a shadowy figure, a shadowy humanoid, which if you guys watch regular show, is like Benson. So Shadow Benson, I call him. I knew from the outline that it was Benson from regular show, but it was just all shadow. It was all dark, and I was like, what in the world? And he was just staring at me. I'm like, okay, this is getting creepy now. And he just walks out of the forest or out of the bush he was standing behind, and he walks over to me. And the little girl comes back through the forest. She's like, and she starts screaming at it, and then all of a sudden the shadowy Benson like literally goes superhuman speed, runs towards her, picks her up and rips her in half. And at this point, I'm like, what the heck is this? And all of a sudden, it starts running towards me, and I start dodging it, and then it just starts growling at me. And I'm like, what the heck? This isn't even right. And then right before it did its superhuman pounce or whatever right at me, I woke up for real this time. And I woke up in my bed. I was like, this is crazy. I woke up in my bed. I sat up, and I just sat there for a while. I was like, I'm so tired. I looked at the time, it's like 4 o'clock. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I mean, 4 o'clock, I could be waking up. It's almost time to go to school anyways. But I decided, let me get one more hour because I have to leave at like 6 o'clock to go to school. So I decided to go back to sleep one more time. And the ringing comes back, but I just ignore it. And anyways, but this dream was like more just like a weird feeling kind of. Because I wake up in this dream, but I'm in my bed and I'm paralyzed in my bed. In the dream, I'm in my bed. So it's my room and I'm paralyzed in the bed. And then there's this guy or man sitting in front of me on my chair. And he's just sitting there looking at me while I'm paralyzed in my bed. And it's daytime. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And I'm like, what is he doing? And I don't know, I got a sense of feeling that he was just watching me to make sure I was okay. And so he was just sitting there and I couldn't say anything, but I was just sitting there looking at him, or laying there looking at him while I was paralyzed in bed. All of a sudden I get like a time lapse in which we start going into the time starts moving but like faster. So like when you look at like those time lapse videos and it just shows day and night cycling over and over again. So and then it just shows him just sitting there day and night over for like, I don't know how long, how many days, but in my dream went by so fast. And he was just sitting there looking at me. And all of a sudden I was like, okay, this is getting crazy. I was like, how long is he going to be sitting here looking at me? And then all of a sudden he just disappears. He zips out of nowhere and then the time lapse stops. And it's in the middle of the day. And it's like time just resumed normally. And then I gain control and I'm like, I sit up from my bed and I look around the room and I'm like, this feels real. Like this literally looks just like my room. And it's daytime and I'm like, where in the world am I? So I walk to my door and I open the door to the hallway, but I step out and all of a sudden I'm in the middle of a street, in the middle of a city, and it's like busy. So it's like downtown, whatever, all the lights are shining and it's nighttime. I'm like, okay, now this is just getting weird. I start walking down the street on the sidewalk, and then the cars are passing by, and there's like all these people just walking by. I'm like, man. So I asked someone, I was like, where am I? And they're like, they just look at me and they go like, I don't know. And then they just walk on, and I'm like, okay. I just keep walking on, and then all of a sudden, I just wake up and I'm like, forget this. I'm literally going to stay up and I'm just gonna go take a shower and go to school. It's like 5 and I'm just like, forget it. I didn't barely get that much sleep. So I just got up, went back to school, and I went to school tired that day. But it didn't even matter because around 7 I kind of got back to full energy. And I was like, oh, stupid morning. Weird morning, most weird morning ever. But yeah, story time is over.